Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tiny Brains podcast. I'm Kevin Joyce, CEO at Tiny Brains, and with me I have Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains at Tiny Brains.
Good morning or afternoon, wherever you may be.
So, we're here in the UK, and we've just come off the back of a seasonably warm weekend for a change, which is nice. So, of course, there's no better time to lock ourselves indoors and wear VR headsets and get all sweaty playing VR games. Um, in, in this podcast, we'll go through the top stories of the last week, as we always do, the top XR stories from the last week. This week, or last week, there wasn't really that much to talk about. But we're going to dive straight in with the talk about the Oculus Go, a blast from the past.
Yes, if you may remember, Oculus Go, which was released in 2018, was that lovely little headset pre-Quest that it was essentially a 3DOF headset that for media consumption, wasn't it?
It was essentially a Gear VR with the phone inside.
Yeah, exactly. And last week, Hugo Barra, who was the former head of VR at Meta, Uh, wrote a lovely long blog post about his time and thoughts, and said the Oculus Go was his greatest product failure, which is a lovely little bit of information. He went on record and said Oculus Go was the biggest product failure I've ever been associated with, for the simple reason that it had extremely low retention, despite strong partnerships with Netflix and YouTube. So. Did anyone actually own an Oculus Go? I think I've got ones somewhere still, you know.
I have multiple, as I do. I think I've lost the controllers for most of them. But yes, the Oculus Go was a lovely headset. But honestly, at the time when it launched, I was questioning who it was for. Um, it
Yeah.
was as a freed-off device. It clearly wasn't for gamers, although there were games available. But it was a media consumption device in an era where VR wasn't really being pitched as suitable for that kind of media consumption.
Mm.
And yeah, so I'm not surprised by this news, to be honest. It's disappointing, but times have changed. We've moved on, so it's not that big a deal in my eyes.
Yeah, he also tallies it with the new Apple Vision Pro because he looked a lot of people that are sort of raving about it are using it for media consumption, aren't they? They're viewing uh, stuff like YouTube and Netflix on it, and this is why he says, you know, a device for media consumption really doesn't have a long tail on it. Vision Pro does bring more to the table. It's far more advanced than the Go is ever going to be. But again, it's one of those things where it it does seem to be a primarily a media consumption device at the moment for a lot of users, really,
And this,
doesn't it?
and this is the point we have to question again. Is $3,500 a good investment for consuming the same kind of media that you could consume elsewhere?
Hmm.
Predominantly, if you're traveling and you're using a Vision Pro for that, could you not just use your phone, which is a third of the price or lower?
Or find your old Oculus Go.
I wonder if Netflix still works on the Oculus Go.
I would not have thought. Seeing that Netflix hasn't updated the app for Quest even for the last 5 years, it's still on 480p.
Nice.
So I wouldn't expect too much.
But continuing with the thread of the Apple Vision Pro as a media consumption device, there's been a lot of talk about the Vision Pro. Well, there's always a lot of talk about the Vision Pro, right? That's the thread of the year.
It's the
But
darling
it's
of the industry at the moment, Kev.
except for part of the thing that we're going to talk about here, the fact that
Well,
it's not really actually selling. But anyway, good news first. What's going on there?
okay, so well, all the news is around what's next, really. It only launched in February, and everyone's already like, oh, what's next? So cheaper and next gen. So a new report by Bloomberg has said that the Apple Vision Pro development roadmap looks like it would bring out the next gen at the end of late 2026. So, what, a couple of years
Year and a half.
Year and a half? Oh yeah, year and a half. Wow. So it's like, do I want to spend 3.5 grand now when I can, maybe spend 2 grand in a year and a half and get something better?
Well, the reports that I have seen are suggesting that yes, a next gen version is coming, but the cheaper version, there's not going to be a price cut imminently for the Vision Pro, is that there could potentially be a cheaper version with reduced feature set. However, at the same time, there are rumors circulating that that was a plan, but no longer is. So, where the truth's got to lie somewhere in the middle here, right?
Yes, yeah. This is it. So with the cheap one, that rumors have been circulating for ages that Apple are frustratingly trying to get the price down, and they're not being very successful at it. Supposedly they've been trying this before the launch of the main AVP, and main components like the displays are the biggest source of the price, and they've still not managed to whittle that down. So the main rumors are that if anything does happen in terms of a cheaper one, it may be sort of earliest maybe June next year. But they'll get, like you say, they'll get rid of features. They'll most likely get rid of eyesight because who really wants to see those eyes peering out from them as they're doing VR? Oh, sorry, spatial computing, not VR.
So, as it stands, we don't know what's happening, but the current rumor mill is a successor to the Vision Pro and potentially a price cut in the existing Vision Pro. A cheaper Vision Pro model, that seems less likely at this point, but it's still possible, as Pete says, with reduced features. So, I don't know. But also the negative rumors that are going around is that the Vision Pro is not selling and that Apple has reduced production on the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, I don't think Apple is stupid. Okay. The Apple Vision Pro not selling, I can truly believe. But I also would believe that Apple had predicted this. And I can't see them having to cut shipments because they're one of the most successful companies in the world right now, right? They've had their ups and downs over the decades, but right now they're one of the most successful companies in the world. They understand their audience, which is why they've become most so successful in the past couple of decades. So for a company of this magnitude to overestimate the most expensive product or one of the most expensive products they have outside of their laptop range and their desktop range would be ridiculous, quite frankly.
Mhm.
I can't see them having overestimated the Vision Pro. I can only see them having gone, yes, this is a high-end device that's going to take a long time to seed in the market. We do not expect it to sell very much. Hence the fact it's only available in America. So, while I can believe the rumors that the product is not selling particularly well, I I'm hesitant to believe the rumors that they have cut production of it because I don't think production was particularly high to begin with.
No, I completely agree. I don't think it was, they weren't producing thousands and thousands of them. No, hundreds of thousands, should I say, really. Yeah. And even if they were producing maybe a little bit too many, they've still got lots of markets that they could put them in anyway, haven't they? So, I'm sure there's lots of countries that are clamoring out for Apple Vision Pro to launch. So I don't think they've got too much to worry about.
But of course, once again, Apple Vision Pro, in my mind, was not the end product. Okay, this is seeding the market. This is we have to remember, of course, that there was two generations of iPhone before the App Store launched, and it is not the iPhone that revolutionized the smartphone market. It was the App Store. So quite possibly, if 2026 is the next Vision Pro, 2028, the one after that, that's when Apple are banking on making their big bucks. It's not now. Don't get too excited.
Well, we'll see on your predictions then, Kevin.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Come back here in 2028 and we'll all be doing this podcast sitting here wearing our Vision Pro Freeze.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah.
Moving on, we've got one story, one gaming story to wrap up, as we always do, and this is Batman Arkham Shadow.
This is essentially the main story of last week. Arkham Shadow was announced at I think it was on Monday, by Camouflage, Oculus Studios, and Warner Brothers and DC. So yes, a brand new installment in the Batman series coming exclusively to Meta Quest.
Was it not exclusively to MetaQuest 3?
Sorry, you're quite right. Meta Quest 3, yes. So,
Mm.
yeah, no Quest 2 and no Quest Pro either.
Yes, indeed. So a lot of people were saying this is signaling the death of the Quest Pro, but to be frank, I think that was signaled quite a while ago. Um,
What, about a
but
month
moving on,
after launch?
moving on to the game itself. So this is developed, as Pete says, by Camouflage, who are also responsible for the fairly well-received Iron Man VR game. Um,
I
so
liked Iron Man VR. I thought it was one of the best superhero games.
I also liked Iron Man VR. I don't think it was incredible, but I think it was well designed, and it did genuinely give you the feeling of being Robert Downey Jr. I mean, Iron Man. So yeah, that maybe they'll do Batman the same degree of honor, which cannot be said, in my humble opinion, of the first Batman VR game.
Ah, yes. Well, it was just literally, was it Batman Arkham VR, wasn't it?
So Batman Arkham VR launched for PlayStation VR 2 in an era where most games, most VR games were essentially just tech demos, especially on PSVR 2, which is fine. But in my personal opinion, it was one of the worst tech demos for VR launched at the arriving within the launch window of the original PlayStation VR. Honestly, other than the fact that you could put a cowl on and look in the mirror and go, "I'm Batman," there wasn't really much in there. So as much as I love the Batman Arkham series, this wasn't it. So hopefully, Batman Arkham Shadow will actually be a game.
Well, we hope so. They've only released like a really brief cinematic trailer so far, which suggests that the main villain's going to be the Ratcatcher. If you know who the Ratcatcher is, because he's definitely not one of the more famous Batman villains by any stretch of the imagination, is he?
I would hazard a guess that he catches rats.
There were a few rats in the video, funnily enough. And there was a very, very brief name tag next to a rat, which said Mr. Dr. Harley Quinzel. So, you know, there's your other nod. There's your, little
Tease,
secret.
tease, tease. So we're expecting more on Batman Arkham Shadow and possibly some gameplay to come at the E3 not E3 this year, which I believe is on June 7th.
Yeah, Summer Game Fest. So,
Yeah. So the poor went out for E3 replacement, which yeah, will undoubtedly be hosted by Jeff Keighley once again, which has an up and down history with VR. But obviously, this is a big game from many big studios with many big grubby fingers in that pie, wanting to get it out there.
mm,
So hopefully, it'll be something that's actually worthwhile championing VR at the Summer Games Fest.
yes, we're going to be eagerly awaiting it.
Okay, so that's all we got time for this week, and honestly, pretty much all there was last week.
Mm.
But we'll be back again next Monday with all the latest news highlights from the XR scene from this coming week. So be sure to come back here, and if you want to reach out to us and chat about any of these topics or anything else about XR, feel free to hit us up on any of the many links I'm sure Pete is putting in the description. I don't know if he runs the YouTube. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.